नमस्कार, मैं सोनिया शर्मा आप सबका ये जो है ज़िंदगी पर अपने हृदय से स्वागत करती हूँ। ये जो है ज़िंदगी में हम कुछ ऐसे लोगों को लेकर आते हैं जो हमारे लिए और पब्लिक एट लार्ज के लिए इंस्पायरिंग फोर्स होते हैं। We are very happy and lucky today to welcome Mr. Kishor Modha to the studios of Voice of India and ये जो है ज़िंदगी। Mr. Kishor Modha is a very well-known entrepreneur and a great philanthropist. He was born and raised in Uganda and was one of the victims of that mass exodus, Asian exodus that happened. Despite all the hardships, when he moved to North America in 1972, he raised himself and his family to great heights of entrepreneurship and philanthropy. Mr. Modha, again, we welcome you to the studios.
Thank you.
And let's start from the beginning. So tell me about yourself. You were born and raised in Uganda?
That's right, yeah. My father, he went from India, from Gujarat in particular, to Uganda early 1920, 1930.
Right.
So we don't know the exact date, but so we were all born there, myself and my older siblings.
Right.
So we are Indian, Ugandan, Canadian, all combined in one.
Yes, I understand.
So,
as per history, there were lots of people taken from India to those areas.
Totally, yeah. Yes. So main thing was at that time we were in the British colonies.
Yes.
And the British people wanted to build a train from the coast of Mombasa,
right,
all the way in interior.
Right.
So they brought a lot of people, mainly from the west part of India. That is Punjab, Kutch, Gujarat, Maharashtra. So those people found it easy to come to Uganda, East Africa.
Right.
So my father was one of them. So he was a farmer in Gujarat, and then he came to Uganda and he was employed on a sugar plantation, which was again owned by a Gujarati.
Right.
So he lived there until his death in 1962. So we all born in Uganda. Like I said, my siblings and myself, and I was, even though born in Uganda, but I grew up in Kenya.
Okay.
Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, they made a combined East Africa.
Right.
And Kenya is on the east coast. So that's where, my father transferred from Uganda to Kenya.
Right.
So we grew up in Kenya.
In Kenya.
So, and then after finishing my school, went back to Uganda. So Uganda it became more or less home, because my brothers were there.
Right.
So so was in Uganda. Then I went from Uganda. I went to India, to Pune in Maharashtra.
Okay.
For about 3 years to a university there, and then came back to Kenya. And then when I graduated from the university in Kenya, I did my studies in university in zoology and botany.
Okay.
That is plants and animals.
Right.
And so after graduating, I took a job in Uganda National Parks.
Okay.
So, that was a wonderful job. It was a dream job.
Of course.
When I had that job, I didn't take it as a job. I thought it was a long vacation.
Of course.
So because I was with the national parks for about 5 years.
Right.
And the beautiful national park, it's about 750 square miles.
Wow.
Yeah, with all
that's huge.
It's just huge, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't a zoo or anything, but it's just a free national park. And
all surrounded by all these exotic plants and animals.
Totally.
Oh my God.
Lions, leopards, elephants, antelopes, they're called Uganda called,
right,
which was my study, like while I was working in Uganda National Parks.
Yeah.
I was also given chance to do a master's
Oh,
So
I see.
I studied it's called a Uganda cob. It's a beautiful antelope.
Right.
And some people who know Impala, it's very similar to Impala,
Yeah.
but a little bit more sturdier.
Hmm.
So anyway, so it was my job plus my studies. So I got my master's from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a wonderful job. So, and then sometimes good things come to an end. And so in 1972, we had a president in Uganda called Mr. Idi Amin,
Mm-hmm.
and he decided to kick all the Indians.
All the people who of Asian origin.
Asian origin, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and we were about 60 to 80,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had a dream that we were sort of stealing the resources of the country, robbing the country. So he said, let's get rid of them. And most of us, we were British protected person or British subjects,
Yes.
and some of us didn't become the local citizens. Like I
Right.
was one of the first one in Uganda to my citizenship number was number 4020 or something.
Right.
So some of us became citizens, the other people didn't. So he told the British government that these are your people,
Mm-hmm.
you take them away.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
and he gave us 90 days to get out,
To leave the country.
to leave the country.
Wow.
So in the 90 days, you had to wind up your business, you had to end your business, you had to finish your employments, whatever it was.
Mhm.
And we were given 90 days to leave country with 2 bags and about $60 per person.
Oh my God. So you had to leave everything.
Everything behind. In fact, there are stories that people drove to the airport, left the the key in the car, and boarded the plane and left.
Wow.
So it was quite tragic because time was short, and we had a lot of things. Everybody had, for most of us, Uganda was a home, and we never thought of leaving it.
Well, if you think about it, British took you there to
Yeah.
do these jobs.
Right.
So obviously they saw the work ethic,
Totally.
and all these people were hardworking people. So obviously they didn't go and sit there idle.
Totally.
They
Yeah.
built good fortunes probably.
Yeah.
They built good life,
Yeah.
and now they had to leave everything that
And-
they built.
And just to point this out, we were a small number in the whole country.
Yeah.
At that time, the population of the country was about 10 or 11 million people, and we were only 80,000 Indians.
Yeah. Yes.
But we formed a middle class.
There you go.
Our people were traders, lawyers, doctors, engineers, you name it. So all of a sudden, for the country to lose that middle class
Yeah.
was the country went back by about 40 years.
Of course.
You know?
It was not just the human drain; it's a brain drain on a very
economy,
big yes.
economy of the
Eh,
country.
yeah.
It was completely down. In
Right.
fact, you couldn't buy basic needs like salt, sugar, oil.
Yeah.
It was that bad. So
So all these traders were gone.
all the traders were gone. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And the teacher, the doctors.
yeah.
Doctors, when you leave the doctors leave the country.
Yeah.
So what happens?
Well, that's about the country. Let's move on with your story. So where did you go from there?
Okay. Yeah. So in '72, at that time, in fact, I just want to mention you a quick personal note. So just before leaving Uganda, I got married.
Oh,
I got married on 15th of October.
yes.
And on 30th of October, I had to leave the country.
My goodness.
Yeah, so
With your newlywed wife.
totally. And
Yeah.
of course, I gained the wife, but on the other side, I lost a job which I liked. I lost my country. I lost my my citizenship.
Yeah.
And by the way, what they did is they canceled all the citizenship papers of everybody.
Oh boy.
We had to check ourselves out. So I went in to get my status checked in. I gave him my passport and the citizenship card. And the gentleman sitting there, he just put a big stamp saying cancelled.
Wow.
And he threw my passport in the corner. So I said, sir, I'm a Uganda citizen. And by the way, I was born in Uganda.
Yeah.
I went to university with the Uganda government bursary.
Right.
And then after living there, I was working with the Uganda government, Uganda National Park.
My goodness. Yeah.
So I lost everything. So I lost the employment, the country, the status, so it just can become just nobody.
Oh, it's a very big mental,
Totally. It was
personal, financial trauma.
Totally,
Yes.
yeah. And I never wanted to leave Uganda because it's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
So anyway, so in 72, this thing happened in 72. So like I said, I got married, and on 15 days later, I left the country and came to US.
Okay.
Yeah, because what had happened is when the president decided to kick us out, a lot of countries came to rescue us.
Right.
And the main was, of course, British had to come because they were their subjects.
Right.
And then Canada was one of the first one to come there.
Wow.
Yeah, so
such a great country.
Totally. And this was thanks to Pierre Trudeau.
Mr. Trudeau.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mr. Trudeau was a good friend of Aga Khan, who's the head of the Ismaili community.
Right.
So, so he said, if you can do something for
our people.
For the the Canada came there, but I like to say one thing about Canada did very well because but they took the cream of the crop.
Oh yeah, the best people came to Canada.
Yeah. So they took the young, educated people. So, but anyway, we are still very thankful to that, and I think Canada is one of the best country to live in. In fact, United Nations says that too.
Yes.
So, and the main thing is the multiculturalism.
Yes.
It sort of supports everybody, any religion, doesn't matter.
Yes, we are very, very privileged to be in this country. So, once you got to Canada, you came to Winnipeg?
Yeah. So by the way, I went to US first because I got a visa for US.
Yeah.
So I ended up in US, and after 3 years there, I moved here thanks to my wife. She didn't like in US because she was very lonely.
Yes.
So, and she had 2 sisters here in Winnipeg.
Right.
So she just told me that you come and drop me in Winnipeg, and then you can come back.
So she was missing her family. Now you came here and you had to stay here, Winnipeg. What did you do once you got to Winnipeg?
Oh, first, when you're a new immigrant, you have to take up all odd jobs,
Yes.
So I had 2 or 3 different jobs, and very menial jobs. Like I was working for the post office, and then I was working in a warehouse, and this and that. So,
right.
And then one of my sister-in-law was working with a photographic outfit.
Right.
It's called Suter Studios. In fact, people who have lived here would probably know that name.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I'm coughing a little bit.
That's okay. Yeah.
She was working for this chain called Suter Studios, and I used to be in Africa, in Uganda. I was always very much interested in photography.
Right.
So my sister-in-law mentioned to the owner, and she said, I got my brother-in-law here, and he likes photography, and he's quite well, he knows how it works. So he said, tell him to come and see me. I'd like to talk to him. So he said, I met with him, and he says, why don't you get involved with our business? I said, I know the photography, but I don't know about the business.
Right.
So he said, no, you come and work with us for a few weeks, and we'll train you.
Right.
So then I worked with him for, just as an apprentice, just to learn the business side of the business.
Right.
And then he says, I got an idea for you. I said, what? He says, there's a place, I was newcomer there in
Right.
Winnipeg. So,
Mhm.
so he says, there's a place about 450 north of here. It's called Thompson.
Right.
It's a small town. He says, I'm thinking of opening a studio there.
Right.
He said, would you be interested in that? I said, wow. I said, I never had a business before, so he said, no, it's easy to do it. He said, let's go and have a look at the place. So we boarded the plane, went there. We went for 2-3 days. We went there, we looked around, and we found a place which we could rent. And in the evening we came back. So, so it was the beginning of the photographic business that I was getting into.
Yeah.
So we opened a studio there a month later, and that was my first studio. So I was involved in the photography business for about 20 years.
Right.
So I was in Thompson for about 6 years,
Okay.
and it was a nice place, nice small town, very pleasant. You want to go in the wild, it's 10 minutes ride, and
Right.
you are somewhere in the wild. There's beautiful ski hills and lakes and rivers and
Yeah. You're a nature lover, so you got back
Yeah,
to nature.
totally, yeah.
Yeah. So how did Mondetta clothing happen?
Okay, so so there was I was in Thompson for 6 years, and then from there I moved to Winnipeg.
Right.
So when I came to Winnipeg, in between I was in Alberta for a while, but there is a side strip. So I came to Winnipeg, and we started 2 studios here
Okay.
in Winnipeg.
Okay.
So
So you became established businessman in photography.
photography, yeah.
Okay. So you established 2 studios here.
Yeah, so then at one time I had 3 studios, 1 in Thompson and 2 here.
Wow.
So, things were quite good, of course my wife was working with me as well, and then other people I had a manager in Thompson and a manager in the second studio. So things were working out good, and at that time, in 1986, my nephews, 2 nephews and their 2 friends,
Right.
they were again 2 brothers.
Right.
So the 2 pairs of brothers.
Brothers.
So they had the idea of starting a business. So in 1986, they set up a business called Modha.
Right.
And Modha, what does Modha mean? It's a word that was coined by these young people, the 4 of them. Mond is a Latin for world,
Okay.
and eta is the suffix for small,
Okay.
meaning
Small world.
small world.
Wow. How nice.
Yeah, so
Yes.
so it's a lot of people think that it looks like an Italian business because it sounds very Italian. Yeah.
Right.
So anyways, in 1986, they set up the business, and they were very young people. In fact, the youngest one, who is the president, and he's still the president. He's the one who set up the business. Registered the business, and the 4 of them were working, and they were Ashish, who's the president. He was only about 17 years old,
Wow.
and
Young people starting a new business
totally, yeah.
and calling it a small world. How
Right.
beautiful is that?
This is it.
So now did they come to uncle
Right.
for help?
There you go. So
Yeah.
so I was established, and we are very close family,
Right.
the Modha family, and
Yes, I've seen you have a big family. Everybody is close knit.
Yeah.
Everybody loves everybody. That's such an example for everybody.
Right, yeah. And
Yeah.
so these are my 2 nephews, and then Raj and Amit, they were the Bals,
Yeah.
So I call them adopted nephews.
Yeah.
So we had a good we had a good relation.
Yeah.
So and then they were young, so they came to me. They used to come to me, even before the business was established. So they wanted some help, so I became their mentor, the financier, the advisor, whatever you want to call it.
Because you already had experience for running a business.
This is it. Yeah.
Yes, and then now they could rely upon you
That's true,
for guidance and mentorship.
Totally,
right?
yeah, totally.
Right.
And of course, they got everything from me, like including the vehicles and the place where they can come to my business to make some phone calls, whatever. So
Yeah.
So anyway, I helped them initially, to establish themselves.
Yeah.
So it was working good. So first they started in the basement of the parents' basement, and then they moved into a small place. It's only about 350 square foot, where they would go and take the orders and on the phone and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved into a place which was about 3,500 square feet.
Wow.
So it was. So they moved.
It was growing well.
Growing well.
Yeah.
So and then they rented another place. So there was another 3,500 square feet. So
Yeah.
so things were going good.
Yeah.
And while they were in this 3,500 square foot place, that was the first time they hit $1 million sales.
Wow. So that was under your mentorship and their workmanship.
Right. Yes.
That's awesome. What a great story.
Amazing. Very hardworking kids. They like two of them will go to school, the other two will attend the business. So so that way it was working out really well.
So their passion and your wisdom combined to generate a really good business.
That's good. Yes.
So tell me more about Mondata Charity Foundation. What is that about?
Okay, so like I said, we were established in '86.
Yes.
Yeah. So things. By the way, I just want to add this one more thing. So after this 7,000 square feet, we moved into a big place. It was about 23,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big, huge factory.
Big
Manufacturing plant.
Yeah. Actually, just a correction. We don't manufacture nothing here.
Okay.
Everything is manufactured in the West. I mean,
Okay.
in the East.
In the East.
Yeah,
Okay.
in China, Vietnam,
Right.
Korea. So,
Right.
So yeah, anyway, so we moved into this big place.
Right.
Yeah, and when we moved into the big place, the boys, I call them boys. They're young gentlemen. They're right now in their 50s. But so they said, you helped us so much, so we want to make you part of the business. So they invited me to join the business, first as a chairman,
Right.
and then as a manager of the business, because
Right.
the manager they had, he had a little medical problem, so he had to leave.
Yeah.
So I stepped in.
Right.
So we were five of us first, and then one partner just moved away.
Right.
So then me and three boys, so four of us were running the business.
Right.
And so things were working good, and so in 2003, 2004, so we said, we came from Kenya and Uganda.
Right.
By the way, my two nephews are from Uganda, and the other two brothers were from Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so we said, we came from this country, so how about we put something back into that country?
Right.
So they say, okay. So they told me to look into it. So, and we had a friend, he was doing some work in Africa, in Kenya.
Yeah.
So, and he was going there, and so I went to Kenya and Uganda about 30 years after I had been expelled.
Yes. So you went back to the country.
Yeah.
Because you have still got the love for the country.
Totally.
Right.
Wonderful country. The people are so nice. So anyway, so I went there and I looked around. So I looked at two places. First, there was an orphanage in Kenya, in Nairobi, and there was a school in Kampala, which is in Uganda.
Right.
So I said, these two will be the place where we can invest.
Yeah. So instead of giving your money to already established charities, you went to the grassroots. You wanted to be the part of the story. You wanted to be involved with bringing a better change in the life of the people there.
Totally.
Yeah.
This way we know exactly where the money goes.
Yes, where the money is going. It's not going into middleman's hand. So I know that you have, school there. You give people treatments as well, and also there's a meal program in place for the kids, like the
meal program.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I think there are about 3.5 million meals already served to
Totally,
different kids.
yeah.
My goodness, that's amazing. What a story,
Yeah.
Mr. Modha.
So this school in Uganda has got about 1,800 students,
Right.
and each one of them are fed at lunchtime every day.
Wow.
So-
And these are the kids who probably don't even, that's probably the only meal they have.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the kids, that is the only meal of the day, and they come with their plates, and they're just happy to be there.
Yes.
And because of our involvement with the school, more and more kids come in.
Yes.
When I first got involved with the school, there was only about 500-600 kids. Right
Yeah.
now, there are about 1,800 kids.
So you are helping kids feed,
Yeah.
and you're helping them come and get education.
So it's a nutrition, health, and education. So
Wow.
it's everything.
How nice. What a story, Mr. Modha. It's very inspiring to see that, despite that bad experience of being, expelled from the country,
Yeah.
you went back to serve the people of the same country.
Totally. Yeah.
After re-establishing yourself in a new country. That's so inspiring. I hope viewers, you can relate with this story and be inspired by the fact that the goodness of the heart is not to be lost to the bad circumstances.
Yeah.
We're all humans. We are here to help each other, to get help, to help raise each other, and bring positive changes in everybody's life. So thank you so much for making the time to
Yeah.
come and share your story with us.
Yeah.
We are so inspired by Mr. Modha and your family,
Thank you. Thank you.
and by the fact that there is still Modha Charity Foundation
Yeah.
that's helping and serving the kids in Uganda and Kenya.
Totally. Yeah.
And again, thanks for taking the time, and viewers, will meet you again in another episode of Ye Jo Hai Zindagi. Until then, aap sabka din mangal mein ho. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.
Thank you.